Hey, welcome back to 65 Drums. My name's Justin. Today I want to make a video about my favorite drum amps available on the market, and also just different ways to hear your electronic drums in general. I'm going to touch briefly on in-ears and also headphone options that a lot of electronic drummers seem to like, including me. One last thing I should probably mention is that I don't claim to be a speaker expert or an audiophile. I've just been a guy that's played most of the drum amps available on the market and a lot of different kinds of headphones and in-ears with electronic drums. And I have preferences, stuff that I think really works well with electronic drums, and some stuff that just I would not recommend to anybody on earth. Everybody's ears are different, so by all means, make your way to your nearest Guitar Center, Sam Ash, or whatever, and try out the different drum amps I'm talking about in the video. And if they're for you, go and buy them. And if you don't like them, then don't buy them. All right, so let's get started. Now, when it comes to drum amps, there are quite a few options available. So I'm gonna break it down into 3 imaginary levels of drum amplification. All right, so level 1 drum amps in my mind are the ones that cost around $170, like the Simmons DA25, and then end up around like $280, something like that. There's a lot of drum amps in this category, the vast majority of them, honestly. And most of them aren't very good. I've never really walked away from playing a $200 drum amp and thinking to myself, that was a really nice speaker. Almost never happens. They can get very loud, definitely, and they're great if you're on a budget, but if you really want something that sounds very, very nice and can show off the true potential of your drum set, these $200 drum amps, to be honest, just aren't worth looking into. If you can save up $100 and go buy the $300 drum amps, because at least in my opinion, there's a big jump in sound quality between a $200 drum amp and a $300 drum amp. The second level of drum amps are the ones that cost about $300 and maybe cap out at $400 to $500. This is where the vast majority of very good drum amps lie. The $300 drum amps just give you a very good price to performance ratio in my opinion, and they sound pretty good without breaking the bank. Now, level 3 drum amplification is going to be like having a small PA system set up. Now, this unfortunately is going to cost you somewhere around $1,000, and most people don't need to go this far. But having 2 PA speakers on poles right and left side of your drum set, and also having a very nice, very large subwoofer next to your kick drum, that will give you a great experience. I've done it myself. I have a small PA system over here, and it sounds awesome. It can make your drum set sound thunderous. Now, to be sure, there are some drum amps like the one from Yamaha that try to emulate this at a lower price, but those drum amps, they usually don't have a lot of power behind them. And as you start turning them up, the speakers start to distort really, really quickly. If you have all the money in the world, go buy a PA speaker setup and have a 3-piece setup with a mixer and all that stuff. But if you want the best bang for your buck, the $300 drum amps are really where it's at, in my opinion. Okay, so that's how I see the world of drum amplification. Now let's talk about my top 3 or 4 favorite drum amps available on the market. Now for me personally, my favorite drum amps are the Simmons DA2012B, we've got the Roland PM100, and then finally we have the Alesis Strike Amp 12. All these speakers are relatively new. The newer generation of Roland amps, while I don't think the build quality is as good as the old generation, they sound significantly better. And the Alesis Strike amp sounds very, very good. I played it with an Alesis Strike Pro SE. I think they were using 2 of them in that setup. It was very bassy, very loud, had a nice smooth sound to it. And then finally, I really like the Simmons DA2012Bs. Simmons sent 2 of them to me for review, and they let me keep them, so full disclosure about that. But I've really been liking them. And of the 3 like competitors right there in that $300 price range, the Simmons one is my personal favorite at the moment. Because number 1, it sounds great. Number 2, you can mount it on a pole. It's basically a PA speaker. And then number 3, there's a lot of connectivity on the back of it. It even has Bluetooth. So you can plug in all kinds of stuff and also stream audio from your phone straight to the speaker in case you don't have a module that's capable of Bluetooth audio. And because of that, I think it's a very well-rounded speaker that costs a little bit less than Alesis, but also has better connectivity on the back of it. So it's my favorite drum amp for around $300 at the moment. Okay, so now I should probably address the elephant in the room. 2 of the speakers that I've been talking a lot about, saying I like the way they sounded, the Simmons DA2012B and the Alesis Strike Amp 12, those are basically rebranded PA speakers. I can't remember the names of the brands they're based off of, but they're basically just PA speakers that have been given a drum moniker. And the reason for that is that PA speakers can handle all the frequencies that drums throw at them beautifully. In fact, another speaker that a lot of electronic drummers swear by is the Mackie Thump 15, again in that magical $300 price range. A lot of people really like the way Mackie Thump speakers sound with electronic drums. So I'll be linking to that one along with the other options down in the description below, and you can do your own research from here. PA speakers just can handle all the frequencies an electronic drum throws at them, which is why you don't want to use a guitar amp with electronic drums. They're not built for handling all the frequencies that drums produce. Also, bass amps aren't really the best choice for using with electronic drums. I should probably also mention that it doesn't matter how good your speaker is if you don't EQ it properly. There are plenty of people out there that are using a keyboard amp, which works fine, or a floor wedge, which can also work fine as well, or a drum amp, and they think it sounds terrible, and it does. But it's not because the speaker itself is necessarily trash, it's because you're using strange compression and EQ settings inside of your module. This is where watching a couple of tutorials online or reading up on the manual, that can really help make your speaker sound good. Just make sure that you're pushing your current gear to its full potential before dropping yet another $500 on another piece of gear that you still don't know how to use properly. So those are basically my thoughts about my favorite drum amps. I'm actually gonna put a poll up here on screen. I wanna see what you guys think. Vote on your favorite manufacturer of drum amps up there on the screen. All right, so now let's talk about different headphones and in-ears available on the market as well. Because electronic drums, while it's great to be able to hook them up to a speaker, another great use for electronic drums is practicing silently. So honestly, for me, most of the time I'm playing my electronic drum set, I'm playing with headphones. Now, I am not an audiophile. I'm not an expert on headphones, but I have used a bunch of different brands with my electronic drum sets that I've owned in the past, and I've also tried out a bunch of different in-ear brands with electronic drums. And here's my main takeaways. You can use whatever headphones or earbuds you have lying around the house, but the problem is they'll probably make your drum set sound like trash. Why would you spend $2,000 on an electronic drum set and then use random earbuds you have lying around? You won't even know what your electronic drum really sounds like until you buy some studio grade headphones or in-ears made for musicians. So when it comes to this sort of thing, thankfully they're not overly expensive. You can buy a really nice pair of studio grade headphones for $100. You can buy some decent in-ears for only $50 to $100. It really isn't as expensive as you might guess on the surface. My two favorite brands at the moment are Sennheiser and Audio-Technica. I personally use the Sennheiser HD280 Pros. I really like those because they're comfortable, they're not expensive, and they reject a lot of outside noise. They have like passive sound isolation. They go all the way around your ear, they grip your head pretty tightly but not uncomfortably, and it sort of blocks the outside sound of you hitting the different rubber pads and the different mesh pads. Overall, I really like these. I bought them multiple times and they're pretty durable as well. I like them quite a bit. They also have a fairly neutral sound but can pump a lot of bass as well. And then finally, I should probably mention Audio-Technica because a lot of people swear by the ATH M50s. Those are very popular headphones that a lot of people love. They're a little bit more expensive, but yeah, I gotta mention those because so many electronic drummers use those. Now, when it comes to in-ears, it's a little bit more difficult to know what's available on the market because it's not like headphones. With in-ears, because you're literally shoving them in your ears, you kind of have to buy them to know whether or not you like them, which kind of sucks. So I've owned 3 different pairs. I've owned Westone, which is a very respected brand. I've also tried MEE Audio. The company sent some of those for review, and I actually got a custom mold of my ears for those. And then finally, I've tried KZ. So that's 3 different price ranges. I think the Westones, I spent somewhere around $300 on those. And then the MEE Audios, I think they would cost somewhere around $200 to $150, something like that. And then finally KZ, I think I spent $50 on those. In my opinion, if you have a lot of money to spend, Westone is the best because of the build quality, and they're just used by a lot of professionals. But their stuff is very expensive. $300 is like the minimum you can spend on their stuff, something like that. They go to $1,000 plus if you buy the really nice ones. And meanwhile, if you're on a budget like most of us out here, I really recommend KZ. The build quality is not up to par with the really professional stuff, but the sound is very good. So for example, I've played live with MEE Audio and also KZ, and I found that I couldn't hear as well with MEE Audio because the mids just weren't very prominent, and because of that, I lost a lot of what the other musicians I was playing with were doing. I couldn't hear them quite as well. It had a very pleasing sound in my ears because I don't like harsh mids, but I couldn't hear everything very clearly, and because of that, I don't think it made me play as well as I did when I was using KZ. KZ is great because I could buy 10 driver in-ears, so 5 per side, for $50. And now the in-ears that I bought are now down to $38, and they keep coming out with new models. But regardless of what brand that you buy, here's the most important thing that you need to know about in-ears. The seal is everything. If you have a good seal, the earbuds will sound good, whether or not they're $50 earbuds or $500 earbuds. But if the in-ears don't have a good seal, if they don't completely seal in your ears while you're putting them in because you have the wrong size ear tip on them, then you will lack a lot of bass, the kick drum won't sound right, the whole drum set will sound a little iffy, and overall, you're not gonna have a good experience. I've even had this happen to me on $300 in-ears. It doesn't matter if you're buying West Tones or any expensive brand. If the seal isn't quite right, if you're not using the right size ear tip, then they will sound bad. So do whatever you have to do. Try out every single ear tip in the box, and even go buy some third-party ones or get a custom mold. Whatever it is you need to do, make sure you have a good seal and you will have a great time with in-ears. Okay, so that is my 2 cents on drum amplification. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm just one guy. You guys have all tried out different brands as well. Let me know your experiences with the different brands down in the comments. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in a few.